Hello. Welcome to this 100% unbiased video about why the Pokemon games released on the DS between 2010 and 2012 are the best ones, actually. Now, I'm completely unaware of how uncommon an opinion this is nowadays, but, well, as Jackson from 2 years ago put it, they're considered the black sheep, no pun intended, of the Pokemon franchise. God, I was insufferable. Anyway, the point is, these games are masterpieces, and I fully believe there hasn't been a better one since, so let me explain, poorly, why. These games take place in the Unova region, which is like the America of the Pokemon world. Now, I could take this in any which direction in terms of jokes, so instead, I'm going to point out the fact that there's a cowboy in this game, and I think he's very silly looking. Of course, this game takes full advantage of its location, basing towns and routes off cool American places like the desert or New York City. Now, I sound sarcastic, but I do genuinely love how this region looks. Every town, city, and route is filled with so much personality, from the bustling Castelia City to the quiet and historic Oplucid City. White version. And there's not a single area that feels out of place, despite Gen 5 having some of the most unique locations in the series. There's stuff like this graveyard tower, this cool giant bridge, and this really awesome electric cave place. And I can't talk about cool areas without mentioning my favorite, Village Bridge. And I know that might seem kinda odd because of just how many bridges are in this game. I mean, here's a bridge, here's a bridge, here's a bridge, fuck it, Pokemon Bridge version. Now let me dissect why I like this area so much. That between Oplucid City and the Kunosa town, Village Bridge is, go figure, a tiny village that grew around a bridge that crosses a river. Upon first inspection, this appears to be a very simple area, but if you look at it closer, it's a very simple area. This, however, I think is a strength. It's a compact but visually pleasing area that made me stop and slow down the first time I entered it. It also helps you can catch really cool Pokemon here like Azumarill, Lapras, and most importantly, Dunsparce. The thing is, other than catching Pokemon, the only thing you can do here is, well, help the chef out by being a waiter, and I think that's just a little bit silly. I know this is said a lot, but the limited 3D in these games is quite charming, and in turn, the cities and routes have a very unique and quite honestly fantastic aesthetic. I mean, they're just nice on the eyes, alright? I'd go as far as to say this is where Pokemon visually peaked for me. I mean, they mixed 2D and 3D perfectly, and the battle sprites have more character in them than the 3D models of the main series have thus far. It's wild. I almost wish they stuck to pixel art because I'm sure the modern games would look a lot more polished if they did. Also, the dynamic camera angles are such a neat and unintrusive feature that honestly adds so much immersion to the game, and it's seriously cool for a DS game. Speaking of immersion, have you ever wanted a quantifiable passage of time in a Pokemon game? Well, here's one anyway. It is fascinating to me that something as cool as seasons were introduced, had almost nothing bad said about them, and then were never touched upon again. Oh boy, I love Pokemon so much. Seriously though, I can't think of a single bad thing about the seasons aspect of the game. The fact that they gave every area a new coat of paint, new music, and new encounters is just so fucking cool. They even designed 2 Pokemon around this, like, huh? It baffles me that they were removed. But I should probably touch on the Pokemon in this Pokemon video now, shouldn't I? These games added a whopping 156 brand new Pokemon, which is more than has been or ever will be added. Because of this, they made the interesting call of only letting you catch Unovian Pokemon until the post-game. At least, the original Black and White. A lot of people were upset by this, but I am not one of them because personally, I think Unova introduced a buttfuck ton of cool designs. I mean, we got Excadrill, Krookodile, Darmanitan, Zoroark, Golurk, and don't even get me started on how cool Reshiram and Zekrom are. Even the literal garbage Pokemon looks dope as hell. They just don't miss. The starters are also really well designed, and you can't really go wrong picking any of them. Unless you evolve Dewott, in which case why did you do that? And another common complaint is that some of the designs are retreads of Gen 1 Pokemon, you know, stuff like Buffalant and Tauros or the Timber line and the Machop line. And personally, I like the Gen 5 designs better anyway, so I don't really care. Now in the post-game, you can catch Pokemon from older generations. You can also transfer in your own. So you're not completely cut off from them, it just gives you an excuse to use new Pokemon in your playthrough instead of using Alakazam or Charizard again. And they actually do have an expanded Pokédex in the sequel, so if you absolutely hate all 5th gen Pokemon for some reason, you could still play those ones. They did add the Ampharos line though, which I respect deeply. Now, as for the competitive aspect, I have no idea, I barely understand it past the rock, paper, scissors aspect really, so yup. Gen 5 was also one of the last generations to actually have events for event Pokemon instead of them just appearing in your mailbox, which is pretty cool, I think. I wish they still did these because I didn't get to participate in a single one of them. I had to walk my sorry ass down to EB Games and pick up a shiny Zygarde coupon. Yippee! Just the fact that we got new areas and stories for these Pokemon just made them feel so much more important, and I wish they still did these. Now, they also did some silly stuff with shiny hunting. I say silly because not all of it's good. You see, Gen 5 added both the shiny charm, which is great and cool and awesome, and shiny locks, which are bad and stinky and terrible. Now, I think it's pretty safe to assume I don't need to explain to you what a shiny charm is. It cuts the rates in half. But I might need to go over what a shiny lock is. See, a shiny lock is a lock placed on a Pokemon preventing it from being shiny. Pretty simple stuff. Typically, shiny locked Pokemon are the box legendary, the mythicals, and the event Pokemon we just talked about. Now, I shouldn't have to explain why this sucks and was a terrible idea, but they do have a reason for it, as flimsy as it may be. It was for the story and cutscenes and stuff. You see, Gen 5 had a banger story, but a side effect of that is Game Freak not wanting there to be continuity errors between the gameplay and the cutscenes, therefore, shiny locked legendaries. Speaking of story, let's touch on that. Now, Pokemon stories are usually never too complicated because the target audience happens to be half my age. However, that doesn't mean they can't be serviceable or even good. Gen 5's story, or stories rather, happen to be the latter. The first story follows our main character, either Hilbert or Hilda, and as we follow their mysterious interactions with N as they try to travel the Unova region and take down Team Plasma and become a Pokemon champion, yada yada yada, nothing too interesting here. However, the story starts to get interesting when we realize that N is actually getting manipulated by the real villain, Getsus, and he gets sort of like character development, and him and half of Team Plasma actually get a redemption arc, where by the start of the second game, they're reformed. Now, if you have played any Pokemon game ever, you would know that a character going through a character arc that actually goes somewhere is incredibly rare and almost never happens. See, one of the coolest parts of Unova's story is that it gets to flesh its character over 2 games. So, after Team Plasma falls in the first game, our main characters from the originals, they disappear, so we get to start the sequel as 2 new characters, either Nate or Rosa. We get to see how our old rebels grew up and how the region has changed overall in the 2 years between the 2 games, and that's just really cool. I'm sorry, it's just really cool. This is the first and only time we've ever gotten a direct sequel to a Pokemon game, and I really wish they'd do this more often. A lot of people like to point out how dark Gen 5's story is, especially by using the scene where Getsus is literally about to kill you until N steps in, which honestly is quite wild for a Pokemon game. Let's finish off by talking about one of the best parts of these games, the music. Pokemon soundtracks have always been phenomenal, but the composition and sound font for Gen 5 is unmatched for me. It's like they put crack in these tunes, I'm not kidding. You've been hearing some of the bangers in the background of this video, but I'm gonna shut up for now so you can actually take a listen, so enjoy. I can't even begin to describe the pure nostalgia and happiness this soundtrack brings me and many others. I implore you, just sit your ass down and listen to the soundtrack. I promise you, you won't regret it. I'd like to thank you for watching as well as being patient with me, because I have made you guys wait far too long for this video, and for that I apologize. I should be in my groove now, so you'll be seeing this goofy face a lot more often. Anyway, bye, I guess.